fall on that baby's head, you stupid never threaten that thing. Bring right back the shit, you stupid mother. What's up?
On February 20th, 2016, authorities received several 911 calls about a rogue Uber driver in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Hi, I'd like to report a crazy driver. I just got an Uber to my friend's house. On the way there, he was driving neurotic down West Main. He hit a car. He drove through the woods, and I finally just jumped out.
I just got passed by a silver Traverse going southbound on Douglas. Probably every bit of 100 miles an hour.
There was a man going roughly 70, 80 miles an hour, weaving in and out of both lanes of traffic.
This silver SUV just slammed on its brakes outside my house.
Okay.
And threw out a guy.
The driver was later identified as 45-year-old Jason Dalton. He would later go on a deadly killing spree that night. While picking up a passenger, Dalton shot 25-year-old Tiana Carruthers several times in the parking lot of an apartment complex.
Okay, so female's down. She's been shot.
Don't move.
Okay, where's the person that shot her? I don't know. The car sped off.
Dalton then sped off and changed cars from a silver SUV to a black Chevy before pulling over in the parking lot of a Kia dealership and fatally shooting 53-year-old Richard Smith and his 17-year-old son, Tyler.
Hi, we just drove by the Kia, and a guy just shot some people in the parking lot. There were two guys laying on the ground and one guy pointing a gun at them.
10 minutes later, authorities received another 911 call.
Kimsey County 911.
I'm at the Kalamazoo Cracker Barrel, and there's been gunshots in a car.
There's gunshots in a car?
When police arrived, they found 4 people shot dead outside a Cracker Barrel restaurant. A 5th victim, 14-year-old Abigail Kopf, survived with horrific injuries. In total, 6 people died and 2 were gravely wounded in what police called an act of random shooting. In between the shootings, Dalton picked up and dropped several passengers who didn't suspect a thing. One even jokingly asked if he was the shooter. Dalton was arrested later that night after a cop identified his car. He surrendered without resistance.
Hey, Jason.
Hi.
How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
You alright tonight?
Yeah. Not really, though.
What's going on?
I know you wanted an explanation.
You can get one.
Because you're not this guy.
No. If you guys only knew, it would blow your mind.
During his interrogation, Dalton blamed the Uber app, claiming its logo resembled the devil, who took over his body and made him shoot 8 people.
I recognize the symbol that's on Uber.
Uh-huh.
Could you bring my phone up to me so I can see it?
I have the Uber thing on here.
Can I see it, please? On Uber,
Uh-huh.
when I clicked it, it went chink, and then there was like a devil head that popped up. And I pressed that button, and that's where all the problems went after that. I've experienced the full body takeover. It literally has control of you. I would have never done any of these atrocities that have happened.
Right. What made you get your firearm tonight? The app? The Uber?
Yeah.
Is that what made you put the vest on, too?
Yeah.
You remember shooting people?
There's like little spots where it's
At trial, Tiana Carruthers, who suffered severe mental and physical trauma, took the stand.
I seen him coming, and I saw a gun.
Intimidator cars. No, they gave bags. These old people, they have these old black bags. They're called they're black. They're black bags. If people drive around and look at them, it gets real like, hey, and it's time people look, and then that's when to tell people it's time to get to Temple.
You need to listen to your attorney, right?
Yeah, you need to get to Temple because you need to get going because it's called intimidator bags.
You need to be quiet in today's proceedings, okay?
Yeah.
you have anything to say, you whisper to your attorney. That's today's rules, okay?
The judge intervened as the witness broke down into tears.
So, Ms. Carruthers, are you okay? Or do we need to take a minute?
When the prosecutor asked Carruthers if she needed a minute, Dalton lunged at the victim.
Take it.
All right, we're going to call a recess.
Take it.
Please, if you would escort down into holding.
The judge asked for a recess, and Dalton was dragged out of the courtroom. Eventually, Dalton pleaded guilty to multiple counts of murder, assault, and felony firearm.
Doing this voluntarily of your own free will.
Yes, I've wanted this for quite a while.
Finally, it was time for the Uber killer to learn his fate.
Corrections for assessment and sentencing for a period of life without the possibility of parole as mandated by statute. This is to be served consecutive to any sentence imposed as to counts 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16. It is to run concurrent with any sentence imposed as to counts 1, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, and 15, and you are to be assessed $68 state fee.
Dalton was ultimately sentenced to life in prison with no hope of parole for his deadly shooting spree. While a convict mercilessly harassed his victim, what happens when the judge throws a defendant out of court?
You wanna fucking take my kids from me and act like that? Fuck you and that fucking bitch!
Like in the case of Alan McCarty Jr., who was facing charges of making death threats to a judge in Daytona Beach, Florida. In 2018, the Volusia County Sheriff's Office received an anonymous call.
Yeah, I want to report a crime that's about to happen.
What do you mean a crime that's about to happen?
Yeah, there's about to be a crime that's going to happen if my kids don't come back to me, you stupid. Because your stupid judges don't want to bring people to courtrooms. I got a gun pointed at your building.
Sir, what is going on?
Who the are you calling, sir, you stupid? Where's your judge warrant at? You gonna bring that out in handcuffs and I'm gonna execute that right in the street.
Where are you at, sir?
Mother, I just told you I'm outside of her building waiting for her to get there in the morning. I'm gonna pop a cap in that, you stupid.
The man was later identified as 36-year-old Alan McCarty Jr., who falsely accused Circuit Judge Stasio Warren of taking his children away in a child custody case.
You wanna fucking take my kids from me and act like that? Fuck you and that fucking bitch! You loud with me? Is that what you're gonna do? No. Well then do it again, come on. Shut the fuck up! I'm trying to think over here.
Months later, McCarty was in court to answer for his crimes.
I am not under oath. This is being done unconstitutionally. Y'all took my kids unrightfully. You won't allow my witnesses here. You won't allow my paperwork. Y'all took all my court paperwork. And when they all come in here, I'm going to say the same thing.
At his pretrial hearing, McCarty spent every moment in court with profanity-filled rants.
Back on the record, Mr. McCarty, President, he's under oath from the start of the trial.
No, I'm not. I'm not under oath.
All right, raise your right hand. I'm going to swear you in.
I'm not under oath.
That's your bad finger. I didn't appreciate that.
So Judge Matt Foxman gave him a warning, but that seemed to trigger him even more.
Say to be quiet. You need to be quiet. There's not going to be a second time. If there's a second time, I'm going to duct tape.
I'm going to tell you, you just threatened my life to duct tape. Did everybody just hear that? You just threatened to duct tape me? Really? In the courtroom, a judge just threatened to duct tape.
No, I said
You just said on record you're going to duct tape me.
How about this? Let's talk about the record. I said I'm going to warn you once.
No, you said duct tape.
Yes, warn you once.
You said duct tape.
Yes. That's
So
what's
you're
going to happen.
admitting
Warn.
to duct tape.
Yeah. You want to know why? Because I want to protect your right. Because my other option is to put you in another room. But then you can't communicate with your attorney even in writing. And I don't like that. So I'd rather duct
The
tape.
duct tape is leaking.
McCarty continued to disrupt the proceedings.
No, I refuse. No, I refuse. I refuse. He threatened to duct tape me. He threatened to duct tape me. I refuse.
I didn't threaten.
Yes, you did. You admitted it on the thing. I'm scared.
I said if you don't behave.
Then you're gonna duct tape me. I'm scared. Been removed from this room. The judge threatened my life.
You have a
I'm
constitutional-
scared. I want to be removed.
If you don't.
I would like to be removed from this room. The judge threatened my life, and I want to press charges.
You have a constitutional.
I have a constitutional right to press charges, and you threatened my life. I want to be removed from this room. You threatened my life. I want to be removed. I am in fear of you. I am in fear of you right now, and I want to be removed.
See you.
I want to be removed. Thank you.
See you on Thursday for your trial.
Bring the dress. You look sweet.
Then, when his trial began, McCarty was back to his belligerent best.
Quit wasting my time and bring him in.
Holly, make sure you take down what I said. He was sworn in on...
No, I was not sworn in.
Yes.
I've never been sworn in this court. Bring the camera back. He's making this up.
He's representing...
He is making this up. I was never sworn in. I have not been sworn in at all. You're a liar.
Judge Foxman calmly asked McCarty if he wanted to be present in the courtroom.
One, I need to know whether or not you want to be here during the trial process.
No.
All right. Do you want to testify?
No, I don't. This is all being done unconstitutionally, unrightfully. Y'all are you ain't allowing my evidence. You ain't allowing my people.
But the foul-mouthed defendant continued to insult the judge and his staff.
My daddy owns the building and I look like a fucking idiot, huh? Brought your dress today, you little fucking prick. You wanna fucking take my kids from me and act like that? Fuck you and that fucking bitch. You loud with me? Is that what you're gonna do?
No.
Well then do it again, come on. Shut the fuck up, I'm trying to think over here.
Unsurprisingly, McCarty was removed from the court and sat in a separate room.
Bro, it's not. Yes, sir. Alan, we're going to go right back there.
Motherfucking take all my paperwork so I can't fucking show these people? You wanna take all my paperwork from me? Lock me in a cell fucking naked all night?
However, that room was not soundproofed.
McCarty's chosen to voluntarily absent himself as opposed to doing other... Sorry, we got to deal with it, folks. I've chosen that room as opposed to duct tape. He can watch and hear what we're doing.
Eventually, McCarty was found guilty of threatening a sitting judge. The following month, McCarty returned for sentencing, showing no signs of remorse.
So here on an order to show cause, which I would like to address first. First of all, for Mr. McCarty to show cause why I should not hold you in contempt for behavior that you demonstrated during the jury trial. Number one, you threatened the unborn child of the prosecutor directly in an open
What a
court.
bunch of guys, you stupid piece of
Then also,
You threatened my life, you
in the
you fucking
back room.
Suck my dick!
Needless to say, McCarty was once again sent to the back room.
No, I'm not standing.
Stop resisting.
I'm not resisting. I'm just not
Stand
standing.
up.
I'm not standing. I don't have to stand. I hope you fall on that baby's head, you stupid never threatened that bitch. Bring play back the shit, you stupid mother. Yeah, keep looking at me, boy.
Where he continued his profanity-filled rants from behind a mirror.
And additionally, because I know you can hear me in the back room.
Get out! Get the out of here! Don't you pull on me! Get out! I'll get up, you mother. Don't be around! I'll here! What you gonna do? You wanna hit me?
Ultimately, Alan McCarty Jr. was sentenced to 20 years in prison for his threats to kill a judge.
No. No, you're not taking my fingerprints. I'm not going to let you. That's right. Don't f***ing touch me. And don't f***ing ever touch my kids. Give me my law paperwork.
While a defendant's explosive courtroom actions certainly didn't earn him any brownie points, how does it compare to attacking an officer of the court? Like in the case of William Terry, whose sentencing was wrapping up at the Cuyahoga County Justice Center in Cleveland, Ohio. Terry just received an 18-month prison sentence for burglary and assault. Terry's family was present in the courtroom sitting behind him, while the victim was seated across from them. As he was heading to prison, Terry turned to his family and gave them words of encouragement.
All right, let's go. Get my family more stuff out my pocket. Yeah. It's all right. It's only 18 months.
Then suddenly, Terry turned towards the victim.
Hey,
a deputy tried to pacify the situation, but Terry proceeded to headbutt him.
Don't touch me like that, dude.
Another deputy joined in and tried to control the situation. More backup had to be called in. Eventually, Terry was removed from the courtroom without any further incident.
Let's go, man. Give me the up. You ready? Yeah. We gonna be calm now? Yeah. All right.
He faced no additional charges for his outburst. While William Terry got off easy for his moment of madness, how does it compare to headlocking an officer in court? Like in the case of Latasha Williams, who was at a Las Vegas court for a mental competency hearing. The 36-year-old was facing child endangerment and kidnapping charges after threatening 2 kids at an apartment complex.
Dr. Susan said that I was competent to stand trial, and Dr. Bradley doesn't like me.
Even after 3 evaluations, Judge Jackie Glass ordered a 4th one and sent Williams back to prison.
Get somebody else to do other than Bradley, to do the evaluation. What do you think? 2 weeks? 2 weeks.
Clearly, the defendant was not pleased.
Because we have Sussman, right? Okay, so we've got the Sussman eval.
This is when things got crazy.
Yes, you are.
Let me go. I got kids and responsibilities. Fuck y'all. Let me go. No, let me.
As officers tried to escort her out of the courtroom, Williams somehow catapulted herself into the air and wrapped her legs around an officer's neck.
Let me go.
Judge Glass pressed the emergency button and called for backup. Eventually, it took 4 officers to restrain Williams. But the enraged defendant wasn't done.
Here's the courtroom.
This time accuse me of something I didn't do.
Go tell them.
I've had 3 evaluations. That should be enough to satisfy the court's argument. Why do these trifling judges?
Overpowered and on the ground, Williams continued with her rant.
I'm going for a
Thieving ass motherfucker. Respect her all goddamn.
Then, as she was being removed from the courtroom, Williams had a few choice words for Judge Glass.
Sorry, bitch! I complied. Did you comply? Did you keep your word? Did you? Were you a woman of your word? Did I not see 3 psychologists? Have I not showed up 30 times? Yes or no? Swear before God. I bet you can. Compulsive liar.
Ms. Kazemka, I think it's clear your client needs an evaluation.
Judge Glass later said this was the worst outburst she had ever seen in a courtroom.
This is probably one of the biggest meltdowns I've seen.
While a defendant almost took a deputy's head off, how does it compare to attacking a judge? Like in the case of 30-year-old Deobra Redden, who was facing charges of attempted battery in Las Vegas, Nevada. Redden was arrested after he allegedly attacked his brother-in-law with a baseball bat. While being taken into custody, A defiant Redden spat at an arresting officer. Redden pleaded guilty and faced a possible sentence of 1 to 4 years in prison. At his sentencing, Redden had a calm and matter-of-fact exchange with Judge Mary Kay Holthus.
Based on my criminal history, I feel that I shouldn't be sent to prison for a second time.
Have you looked at your criminal history? Have you looked at your criminal history?
I've actually just I looked at it.
I mean, you lived it, I suppose.
I just looked at it,
Yeah.
Judge Holthus then reminded Redden of his criminal history.
3 felonies, a gross, 9 misdemeanors, multiple DVs. Got a lot going on, sir. Battery on a protected person, robberies, attempt home invasion.
Redden, who struggled with mental health issues like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, tried to convince Judge Holthus that he deserved a second chance.
Applying to my personality and having an epiphany at that moment, in those instances, and just trying to learn from my mistakes, And I feel like I shouldn't be sent to prison, but if it's appropriate for you, then you have to do what you have to do. But I figure that, if I'm in a better place in my life, I'm not doing drugs, I'm not out there committing crimes now, and I feel like I should be.
The judge was having none of it.
I appreciate that, but I think it's time that you get a taste of something else because I just can't with that history.
This is when the defendant went nuts. Redden launched over the courtroom bench and headed straight for Judge Holthus. Redden then got into a brawl with the deputies. Eventually, deputies were able to restrain him. It turned into a free-for-all as punches and fists were thrown at will. There was sheer chaos in the courtroom as alarms went off and people started calling for help.
Affirmative medical is requested. Judge's chambers.
Yeah, be advised. 515's got a big laceration to his head. Judge hit her head into the wall, and I got an inmate.
There's going to be a positive transport to UMC for the marshal.
Be advised, I'm also going to need a biohazard cleanup for a lot of blood.
Thankfully, Judge Holthus didn't suffer any serious injuries. However, it was later revealed that Redden had punched her several times and pulled out parts of her hair. But one marshal was not so lucky. He was hospitalized and needed 25 stitches after suffering a forehead injury, as well as a dislocated shoulder. A few days later, Redden was back in court to learn his fate for the initial assault case. This time, he was heavily shackled and wore a spit mask.
All right, this is on for the continuation of Mr. Redden's sentencing. For purposes of the record, I want to make it clear that I am not changing or modifying the sentence I was in the process of imposing last week before I was interrupted by defendant's actions. All right, that being said, in accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court does now sentence you in addition to the $25 administrative assessment fee, $150 DNA fee, the $3 DNA administrative assessment fee, and $250 indigent defense fee, 19 to 48 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections.
Redden faced 13 new charges for the attack on Judge Holthus, including attempted murder, battery, and extortion by threat.
You're being charged with count 1, attempt murder, victim 60 years of age or older, a felony. Count 2, battery on a protected person resulting in substantial bodily harm, victim 60 years of age or older, a felony.
Redden later pleaded guilty but mentally ill to those charges. While Deobra Redden took out his anger on an unlucky judge, what happens when a defendant collapses in court? Like in the case of Erica Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham, who were accused of killing a child in South Carolina. The two reportedly tortured and beat 3-year-old Serenity Richardson to death while Butts was babysitting the child. Butts, who was Serenity's godmother, later confessed to repeatedly whipping the child with a belt. Not only that, when Serenity became unconscious, they tried to revive her by putting bleach under her nose and putting her in an ice bath. Serenity suffered from more than 250 injuries to her body, including a lacerated liver, broken ribs, and a fractured skull. Such was the horrific nature of the abuse that prosecutors said the only uninjured part of Serenity's body were the soles of her feet. Both Cunningham and Butts were convicted of child abuse and murder. At their sentencing, Judge Deobra Redden said nothing had ever affected her as strongly as the photos of the little girl's battered body.
The severity of the blow to that child's leg, and to say that you did not recognize what had been done, to ignore what must have been the excruciating sounds that came from that child on a daily basis, is more than disconcerting to this court.
She then sentenced the two killers to life in prison without parole.
And as such, the court finds it appropriate that each be sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of life.
This is when things got crazy. After the verdict, the two defendants collapsed as screams of their family members echoed through the courtroom. Both women started hyperventilating and had to be restrained and wheeled out of court. While the chaotic and bizarre courtroom collapse was truly shocking, how does it compare to lunging at a judge?
Go now.
Like in the case of Melissa Hardwick, who was in a Kentucky courtroom for a domestic violence hearing. Hardwick's ex-husband had previously filed a domestic violence order against her.
Are you asking the court to enter an order restraining the respondent from any contact with you?
Yes, Your Honor. The husband was explaining the situation when Hardwick started to interrupt.
Things have been escalating, I guess, since the first of the year. And Melissa's had a couple MIWs and a couple arrests. And she got out of jail in, I guess, April. And she started, we hadn't really had anything personal up until that point. She got out of jail in April, and she started...
My personal life is
No.
business.
At first, Judge Jennifer Edwards gave the defendant a warning.
It has nothing to do with
Miss
you
Hardwick,
boys. No.
you will be held in contempt of this court if you become disruptive.
Hardwick didn't care, so the judge charged her with contempt and sentenced her to 10 days in jail.
I haven't done anything to this court. I haven't done anything to him.
She will be arrested
It
for
doesn't make
contempt
any-
of the
It
court.
doesn't make any difference.
You will serve 10 days for contempt of court.
This is when things got really crazy. Hardwick leapfrogged and reached out to get her hands on Judge Edwards, but thankfully court deputies stepped in just in time. However, that didn't stop Hardwick's verbal threats.
Get off of me!
Hands behind your back.
Wait and see.
Got her?
You. You'll be saying what happened, Jennifer.
Hardwick faced additional criminal charges for her antics.
A new judge will have to be appointed to represent because she will be charged criminally for the threats that were made in open court today.
Eventually, Hardwick was sentenced to 120 days in prison for her outburst. While Melissa Hardwick's attack was stopped in the nick of time, what happens when a drug-fueled defendant attempts to escape? Like in the case of 35-year-old Daniel Nicholson, who was facing weapons charges in Adelaide, Australia. Already out on bail, Nicholson was in court to learn whether his pretrial release was to continue. But to his shock, the judge decided to revoke bail.
I revoke bail. I revoke bail. No, you can stop.
Nicholson protested in disbelief, but the judge refused to listen.
What's going on, bro? Take a seat. Take a seat.
Miss, please, miss.
Please, miss. I'll show you what please, miss is.
This is when things got crazy. Realizing he was about to go to prison, Nicholson launched himself over the glass dock, overpowered 2 officers, and landed on the bar table before being tackled to the floor. Amidst all that chaos, a woman made a plea on the defendant's behalf. Eventually, officers were able to get things under control.
Grab the cops. Don't do anything silly.
The incident saw one officer suffering a broken foot, while another sustained a jaw injury. Nicholson faced additional charges of attempting to escape from custody and recklessly causing harm to a prescribed emergency worker. He later pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 21 months in prison.